What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Let's talk Tottenham. I've got a hot cup of coffee here. It's nice and early in the morning, and I'm ready to talk Tottenham. Man, not the match we were hoping for with 10,000 fans in the stands, and it felt like the same old Spurs. I feel super disappointed for anybody that paid the most, amount of money to go see their team when you got Burnley over here playing for free. Man, it's just so sad that showing. I think Alistair Gold said something like, it looked like they were uncomfortable having fans in the stands. And I mean, what a tough time to bring fans back for Spurs, because there's just so much discontent. There's so much division. And I have to say, Ryan Mason, for his first ever managerial position in the Prem, this guy is like a politician up there, the way he's able to field these questions, deflect things away. And in some ways, that's amazing. I'm like, wow, dude, you're doing awesome up there. I don't know how other people would do at that age with your first experience. And he just looks like he took a couple classes on how to field questions from reporters. But I think he knows better. I don't think he believes that there isn't so much of a disconnect, that it's just emotions from losing a match. I think he knows better than that. But I also understand that he's got a job. He's probably feeling like he's got to toe the line. He's only got to do it for so long, and he's going to be moving on to something else or moving back to where he was. I don't know exactly. But yeah, so in some ways I'm proud of him. Wow, you're doing awesome. But in other ways, this club, as people have said, is a shambles. It's a banter club. You can say whatever you want. Personally, I think this is just Pochettino's words coming true. Like we always knew that there was going to need to be a painful rebuild. It probably needed to happen during those transfer windows where Levy did nothing. And here we are. I said in my last video that Daniel Levy was at least willing to admit that he had lost focus, but I did not feel like that letter was really acknowledging where we are at. It didn't feel like we're being heard. It felt like, I know you're upset, but look, we're awesome. Keep watching, keep renewing your season tickets, etc., etc. So anyway, so those are my kind of like quick thoughts. I was happy for Stevie B. Obviously, overall, the match was just really poor. Sergio Reguilon, I made a TikTok the other day. I said, don't ever come at me about my love for Ben Davies ever again. And that's for you, Ravenger, because, say what you will about Ben Davies. He's Mr. Consistent. And I think he has one own goal, and it was in it was against Colchester or something like that. And he's just, the decision-making of Sergio Reguilon is poor. He's young. It just seems like he's so young. There's an immaturity out there, and there's a fire, and he's quick and he's passionate. Obviously, the emotions of all that stuff. I love that about him. I do feel like once he kind of beds into Spurs, that he will be Spurs. But right now, he's just kind of not focused. And I feel like you could say that about a lot of players, but I feel like his not being focused is showing up right on the pitch, and it's just so disappointing to see the own goal, which I think there was no need to clear that ball. I mean, easily could settle it down and take it out from the back, or just settle it down and clear it. I don't know if he didn't know that he had that much time. It looked like he should know that there was that much time. The other part of that, too, was the second goal. Two clearances back-to-back that they didn't get it out of the back. And this has happened on the right and left side of Spurs defense over and over again. I remember Jaffa Tanganga, I believe it was just a few games ago, had a similar thing where he tries to clear it out, and it's hitting their front three or whoever's up there. Just super disappointing. I saw a a map of players' average position, and it just shows that we were pushed up really far. There was only really like 2 defenders versus I think there were 3 or maybe even 4 Aston Villa players whose average positions were pushing into our half. And yeah, you're gonna see when you make poor decisions, you make big mistakes. This is Premier League level. Even at the bottom of the table, you can get punished for that. So Aston Villa is, I would say, another kind of mid-table team. And we beat Wolves, but we are not consistent enough to be able to handle this regularly. So those are some of my thoughts. If you haven't joined our Discord server, I would encourage you, jump in there. There's a link in the description down below. I like to, there's all sorts of things you can talk about on the side here. We've got all sorts of different channels and voice channels, and but the big one is this You Tell Me channel right here, where after the match, I'll post some questions. These 2 are always the same. You know, summarize your post-match thoughts and what questions do you have for me. I love to hear from you. So if you could do a little voice memo, that would be perfect. So, but these are the 3 questions that I posted. So let me read some of the comments from our Discord server, and we've got some audio as well. One person said, "I'm glad I didn't watch the match because it's typical that once the fans come back into our stadium, we go ahead and bottle it and embarrass ourselves." Another person was talking about how the fans were chanting at Daniel Levy when he was in the ground, doing a lot of booing. Other times talking about how the fans were, being positive when Bergwijn scored, but when Reguilon did the own goal, they were booing. And then the second half, it was definitely booing, and you could hear it. I mean, you could hear it even. It's kind of nice, if I'm honest, to hear real fans, because when you're hearing people singing or whatever, when at least as a Spurs fan, there would be something other than just "Come on, you Spurs" being sung out there when we're not playing that well. So this is Techno said, "I'm just sad. I'm too depressed to send in or write my thoughts. I just can't. I'm off of football for now." And I understand. I feel like I can, after that match, I posted these questions, but it's hard to talk about when it's so poor week after week, and you get a little bit of excitement and think, maybe we're going to turn a corner here. We beat Wolves. We got a clean sheet, but you're still back to this crap again. So here was Regina's post-match thoughts.
That match was an absolute horror show. Yet another game where we face quality opposition and get outplayed. And the only real positive is that Bergwijn scored his first goal of the season. And even so, there were only 2 games remaining.
Yeah, that is really the only positive. Like I said, I'm a fan of Bergwijn. I want him to do well. I mean, I'm a fan of all of our guys. I want them all to do well. But for some reason, I just got this thing for Stevie B, and I'm glad that he's finally got that goal. It didn't go an entire calendar year. I think it was 330 days or something like that. He had a month left of the year before it had been a whole year since he scored or something. But anyway, continue.
Reguilon especially was woeful today.
Yeah.
Like how he managed to score that volleyed on goal is beyond me. And as a collective, we were utterly shambolic, and it's crystal clear that too many players are complacent, disinterested, and simply not good enough to play at this club.
Whoa! Regina is coming in hot. Holy moly. Let me go back here. These descriptors are incredible. Here we go.
As a collective, we were utterly shambolic, and it's crystal clear that too many players are complacent, disinterested, and simply not good enough to...
Complacent, disinterested, and not good enough to play for this club at this level. Oh my gosh.
And, might I add, starting Winks over Tanguy was criminal.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that, because one thing about Ryan Mason that seems to be clear, some people are saying he's just playing his mates, he's just playing his friends. I'm not so sure about that. I have a feeling that Ryan Mason was brought in with Daniel Levy to say, this is about the feels, okay? Things are not going well. Let's bring the feels back to the club. So let's play Gareth Bale regularly. Let's play Harry Winks in the last home match of the season in front of the fans. He's one of our own, right? And from a PR perspective, you can understand why you would think that's a good decision. But from a footballing perspective, that's a terrible decision. The feels are not what we're here for. I mean, we're here for the feels, but not like some sort of, oh, look at that. That's Harry Winks out there. We need to win games. We're not going to... Dude, Woolwich might actually finish higher than us on the table. That's how poor we've been in these last few weeks. So it's not about that. And I noticed this too. Same with like Carlos Vinicius. It seems like Daniel Levy has made his decision about Carlos Vinicius, maybe even Lucas Moura. Lucas Moura hasn't seen the field since Ryan Mason has come in. Why? Moura was doing great. So there seems to be some decisions that are being made, again, for financial means, that they're probably going to sell Lucas Moura. They're probably going to sell Carlos Vinicius. Or I'm not sell, but they're not going to purchase him. Not going to renew his loan or anything like that. So he's just not seeing the field. And I can understand about Vinicius, but Lucas, why? I feel like, I know people are frustrated with how he dribbles and stuff like that, but he has played well this season, and I would start him ahead of some of these players. Now, Dele coming back into the side, I understand that one. I do think he has quality. He's shown his work off the ball, just like they've said. But goodness gracious, to play Winks in front of Ndombele is, I would agree with you. I mean, it just makes a huge statement that the football doesn't matter. It's the feels that matter. It's the money that matters. And I think we're all tired of that. So other people in here have talked about a bunch of different things, including Steve Hitchen and getting in the director of football. There was some questions about, where does 7th get us? Is it the Europa? Is it the conference? I believe it's the conference. But Rob was also mentioning that if Chelsea finish 5th, and win the Champions League, then 7th might be Europa at that point. If you can just explain that in the comments, if you know that answer, that would be awesome. I'm just not really sure, and I didn't have the chance to look it up. So those are some of the comments that were made specifically about that. But now that we're talking about Europa and the conference, my question was this. Would you consider us favorites in either of these competitions next season, or were we only considered favorites for the Europa this year because of Jose? And I have a feeling, I feel like at the beginning of the season, we were favorites. We were favorites to win the Europa. I think we were even favorites with the betting odds. But as I look at it now, forget Harry Kane potentially leaving. Even just with this squad, I would not consider us favorites in either of these competitions next season, including the Conference League, which is just so embarrassing. We just haven't been able to beat any sort of competition. And when the game is on the line, people play poorly. Their heads go somewhere else. So no, I would say no, I do not consider us favorites in each of these. And here's what Regina had to say about the European competitions here.
Stands, Europa League is looking unlikely, so we're either going to be playing in the Conference League or playing no European football at all. And I would honestly prefer the latter, because that way we can focus more on our league and cup campaign next season.
Yeah, so, Regina, you're not the only person that has talked about this. I'll get to that in a sec. I'll let you finish. But yeah, I feel like, if we don't have any European football, it's going to be so hard to bring anyone to this club.
Rather than playing in a competition that's inferior to the others, and that'll only tire out our players.
Yeah.
And even if we do qualify for Europa, I really don't trust us to progress very far, even take the competition as seriously as we should, as indicated by our humiliating exit earlier this season.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Regina. And I feel like that's it's just so disappointing. We have top quality players with their minds somewhere else. And there's a part of me that wants to blame Jose for that. But there's also a professionalism that you would expect to see from Premier League players. Now, a lot of our guys are relatively young. We don't have a ton of veteran voices that have won things. And so maybe there's no leaders that are leading by example. But so when it comes to the European competitions, I hear what you're saying, Regina, in terms of like, yeah. And even Ginty, I think, said, how did he put it? Yeah, I don't want Europe next season because I can't take the disappointment more than once a week. And there's some truth to that. And I've even thought, playing those games on Thursdays, it's hard to get back into the rhythm for the weekend. And all of those things are very true. But when I think about the state of our club, Leicester won the league when they didn't have European games to deal with. Chelsea, the following season, won the league without having any European games to deal with. And so in some ways, I could say, yeah, maybe that would be helpful for us to kind of find our rhythm again, just really focus on the Prem, focus on FA Cup, focus on the League Cup, and have one less competition to be involved in. But, man, you're talking about Harry Kane wanting to leave. And there's a question mark around this about why he brought up leaving when he did. And I think I'm going to do a video about that in just a few days here, maybe just after the season's over, in terms of the intentions of Harry Kane and why he said what he said when he did. Was he trying to motivate Daniel Levy to sell him? Was he trying to maybe motivate Daniel Levy to make some moves in the transfer market? Because the reality is, Harry Kane is Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, you can say Sonny is part of Tottenham Hotspur, but Harry Kane has come up through the academy. He's potentially golden boot winner in a terrible season. He's the face of this club. And if he goes, this is not like Gareth Bale leaving. This is totally different, in my opinion. Yes, you're going to get monster money, but you're going to have to replace a legend, a true legend that has done so much for this team. And it's hard to say Daniel Levy has done as much for Spurs. Now, you can say with all the stuff he's done with the club, I'm just saying in terms of the hearts of the fans, Harry Kane has stayed at a club, been loyal to this club, when he could have very easily pushed for a move in other times, in other seasons. He said, nope, I'm here. And I'm Tottenham Hotspur through and through, and I want to win things here. I mean, that is, in this day and age, it just seems so unlikely that you'd find a guy that loyal. So anyway, I think we have to play in Europe in order to keep Harry Kane. That being said, maybe Harry is trying to push Daniel Levy to make some significant investment into the first team. So I don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think it's worth playing? Do you think it's better off that we don't? What does that do for management, right? Like the manager coming in some ways, yeah, it's just so hard because I could see both sides. You could say a manager coming in, having one less competition, could really focus on rebuilding this squad in terms of the manager's style of play and stuff like that. They're not going to have a great preseason because they got the Euros this summer, right? So it's going to be different. It's not going to be, I mean, this is the issue. I feel like with all this international, some of you may really love the international games. I personally think, what does it add? What value does it add to these guys? And I get like, I mean, as a kid, I remember, dreams of playing in a World Cup and representing the United States and whatever. And maybe because the U.S.'s women's team is, always just killing it, and the men's team is nowhere to be found. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of like shading my view a little bit. It's like a foregone conclusion that the women are going to do well. It's like, you guys can play, but we know what's going to happen. But for the men, it's like, you guys can play, but we know what's going to happen in the other direction. So yeah, when I think about all these games and matches that you guys are having to play in these international breaks and just what it does to the legs of so many players, it just makes me wonder if it's even helpful. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you think that European competition is going to be helpful or hurtful? Obviously, we're going to lose revenue, possibly lose the type of manager that's willing to come in. They won't have any European matches to play in. Maybe that would be a draw. And then in terms of players that we want to bring in here, how do you sell the future in saying like, hey, give us the next 3 years, next 4 years, 5 years of your life, your playing days, that you're going to come in here, play, you're going to see this beautiful stadium. It's going to be filled with people and stuff. And it's just not enough. And I think Daniel Levy doesn't get that. So we're going to talk about this in a later video about management, Harry Kane's exit, director of football stuff. Who do they bring in? So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please subscribe to the channel. If you like this kind of content, hit that like button, join our Discord server. And as ever, it was great talking with you.